Live currently. All right, we're live, it says. All right,
We're
what's
live?
up, guys? Welcome to Honest Faction Podcast, episode number 1. This is pretty much just going to be an ongoing live stream thing where I am joined by other people that are into fashion. And we're going to have like a kind of overarching topic and then questions to go along with that topic. So today I'm joined by Alex Maximenko, Christian Ferguson, aka Archive Threads, and then JC, who runs, how do you even say your brand? Say it.
Shutdowns.
All right,
Holy.
go.
Oh yeah, we're up. I see it.
All right. So you guys just all introduce yourself right off the bat.
All right, I can go first.
Yeah.
My name is Christian. I'm friends with Alex. I've been running Archive Threads for about a year now, just kind of getting into it. And this is the first podcast. I'm super excited to be here. I think this could be a big thing for us. So yeah.
All right, dope.
All right, so I'm Alex Maximenko. I've been running the Instagram page Alex Maximenko for about 2 years now. I've been selling archive garments. I'm one of the biggest archive pages in Canada. I'm about to become the biggest single-handed archive page, hopefully within the next month or so in Canada. So we've been working towards just curating garments and getting people dressed up.
Nice.
Yo,
And
Jacob,
Mr. JC.
who are you?
Who is Jacob?
Who is Jacob? What's up, guys? My name is Jacob. I am on Instagram as Sutaijo. I run the label currently under the works as Sutaijo Station. Currently working on season 1. I have cargos that are releasing sometime near the end of June, maybe earlier, due to COVID, which is what we're going to be talking about today. You guys ready?
Yeah,
for
so
sure.
pretty much the
Okay,
first
let's go.
topic for today is just how this pandemic is affecting the fashion industry. Obviously, it's affecting all of our lives in a huge way, and pretty much we're just going to be focusing on how fashion directly is impacted by it.
Yeah. Should I start off with my first question?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right, bet. So the coronavirus has provided an unprecedented period of time none of us have remotely experienced before. As a result of this, many fashion influencers have taken the time to experiment with personal style and try new things. Have you guys tried anything new? And if so, what?
So I've always wanted a pair of boots. I know it's nothing like super crazy. We talked about this in the last stream. It's nothing too crazy, but I just ordered those ground cover boots that came out yesterday from
Those are
Avery
so
and Kaylee. Yeah, the price point was pretty high, but I think it is justified in some ways, and I've always wanted to try out some boots, so I'm excited to get those.
They're so crazy.
So nice. I love those.
What about you
Personally,
guys?
myself, I've been working towards trying to experiment more with my style. I find myself getting really blocked into the tonal aspect of things, where it's you have to be in those darker shades if you want to be wearing the darker type of aesthetic. But I don't really see myself as somebody who has to be refined to that. So I've been trying to experiment with more color in a sense of where it's just I can still wear bold colors, but still have my aesthetic all wrapped up into it. So I've been wearing a lot more red and a lot more pops of just easier colors to blend into your wardrobe.
Yeah, I totally feel that. I always get trapped in the monochrome, and I never wear colors. So I've used this this period of time to really experiment with new shit and just see how I can match different colors and really pop without just purely going off of monochrome. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel the same way because as I'm doing my label, everything is currently a plum, very dark color. But eventually I want to work out with something new. Me and my team were talking about getting better dyes, maybe something in the bacterial realm.
That's so
Something-
crazy. I love that.
Something
sick.
crazy. But as far as I guess personal style, I've noticed I have noticed that color is it's definitely something that people can want to get into, especially
Yeah.
now. Time you realize in depressions, everything is super grim. But
Yeah.
I think bright colors are a great way for people to express how they want to feel or how the future is to come, which is great.
I think a really good example of color being utilized in a really dark way that was finally brought to light was Chakotl by Rick Owens.
Yeah.
So that collection was just everything before we've seen from Rick was just olive tones. You have your traditional Rick, like slick black colors, like your matte black, your flat black, and then you have your charcoal grays. There's really not much color experimentation outside of your basic tones. Like plum was probably like as far outside of the color realm as we were getting.
Right.
And now we're getting those vibrant purples, those bright yellows, the flashy cherry reds. So I think
really
it's really cool to see that like even bigger name designers like Rick obviously are experimenting outside of his comfort zone with those like monochromatic style, like just tonal wardrobe. And like he's really expanding the collection to be something that's more wearable outside of like the dark core fashion type.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
for
I
sure.
feel like a lot of people are intimidated to use color as well, because it can be really difficult to pair colors sometimes, and it's a lot easier to do like tonals and shit like that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it adds a lot to your wardrobe if you're able to do it like well.
Yeah, for sure. Hats off to anybody that can.
Somebody's
Yeah.
spamming in the chat zipper foreskin.
It's true. Thank you for that.
Thank
I feel
you.
that.
Can you just
But
beat
not
them?
another thing I've
It's a
been
big
kind
one.
of trying to try out is different silhouettes. So I'm obviously super skinny. We talked about this last time too.
Yeah, me too.
And
Yeah.
like I kind of try to hide that with like my clothes sometimes, how like baggy it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And I've kind of departed from that. I've been trying some skinnier stuff. And
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
that's
kind
good.
of out of my comfort zone for right now, but
I mean,
I'm
nobody's
trying to get
seeing you
there.
though. Like that's kind of like the beauty of the
Yeah.
pandemic. Like you
Yeah.
can just kind of express yourself and try out new things, and nobody's gonna judge you or see you
Mhm.
because you could just go for a walk around the block, and that's as many people that's gonna see you in the day. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's true.
Exactly.
Yo, and you know what's crazy? I think now more than ever, people that are being confined do not want to be confined. Like
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
No,
true.
my
That's
yeah,
true.
neighborhood, so many people just pass by each other, and I'm just kind of like,
I
Yeah,
saw
like,
something
In
the
my
other day,
neighborhood,
and
there's a
people-
path where people. In my neighborhood, there's a path where people walk, and there's never like this many people out ever.
Yeah.
It's literally crowded.
Well, everyone's
It makes no
bored.
sense.
I saw
Everyone
something
is
the other
so
day, and it
bored.
was like people that like literally haven't exercised since 1998 want to get out and start running now. Like I was like,
yo, actually, random question though. Do you guys think now, in a time where people are supposed to be kept inside, will this lead to like a prolonging in the virus being like
I don't think so, honestly, because like just because people are like walking around and stuff like that, like there's still there's still wind and shit going between you. Like you're not
Yeah.
going up and giving them a smooch on the cheek. You know what I mean? Like
facts?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I don't think that it'll prolong the pandemic unless people start doing like the protests and stuff like that I've seen in
Right.
like Florida
That's
and I think
wild.
maybe Texas. I'm not sure which the other one was, but
Yeah.
that's just dumb to me. Like that's so stupid.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but it is. Sorry if
we did it
anybody's
in
offended
Toronto
by
too.
that.
It's not better in Canada. We did it in Toronto. So
Yeah, that's so
it's better.
stupid.
Yo, thank
Yeah.
you for the 18 people that are tuning now.
Oh yeah,
21
that's
now.
great.
Oh,
Thanks.
wow.
Shout out to you guys.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, that's
Oh, we got
crazy.
21.
Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
it just went up. Just jumped.
Yo,
Beauty.
yeah, 20.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So also like with this time break, I've been trying to find like different fashion resources and stuff to educate myself. Are there any things that you guys have been doing that you would recommend to like spend your time doing that you could spend productively or in like educating yourself?
I'd say like Vogue Runway, like that whole thing, like there's so much information and stuff like on there about the history of fashion. And there's also like the books like the Margiela book, and I even have like this book right here, like the Virgil Abloh
yeah.
book. Like this book is so sick. And you have that that CDG book as well that you can
Yeah.
it
I was
provides
just
a
gonna
lot of
talk about
information.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, so much information. Like, oh my God, it's insane.
You have the Yoji one as well, right?
That's System Magazine. Here, I'll show
Oh
you.
yeah.
I'm so jealous that you have that, bro. Like I was really debating, but I always see them and they're like hella taxed.
Yeah,
Mm.
dude. It was, I think, $25 on Amazon.
That's
Oh,
really
so
good.
cheap.
Yeah, the photography is really interesting too. It's
I think
it's
it
an
takes away
interview.
the
Rick interviewed Yoji, which is pretty interesting.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
that
That's
is
crazy.
really cool to see.
Yeah,
that
I remember seeing that.
Mhm.
It was just an article. It was on Systems online site, I
Yeah.
think, and I just happened to stumble upon it. like
That's so sick.
Somebody said, what are our Instagrams? I put that in the description of the live stream actually. So
I actually been
It'll
getting
be-
like, a lot of people following right now, like as this is going on. So that's kind of cool.
Oh, really?
Too. Appreciate that, guys.
Oh.
That's sick.
yeah, for
Yeah.
real.
Yeah, this is definitely cool for all of us to get a little bit of exposure and growth. So
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
Great
Yeah.
for people like to be putting out content right now because I feel like it's hard to be putting out content like whether or not you're on YouTube, whether or not you're running an archive page, your own brand. Everybody's affected by this in a way. So us
Yeah.
being able to produce something that like makes things easier for other people is always like something that's
yeah,
gonna be
and
Yeah, it's sick.
we all didn't like know each other as a whole like a week
Yeah.
ago. So this is
A
pretty
week
cool.
ago, yeah.
So to like break down how long we've known each other for, first off, Christian and I have been friends for about like a year. So like we personally know each other. And then
Mhm.
Jackson and Jacob, you guys have known each other for a little bit, yeah?
Yeah,
just a few
we've gotten
months.
pretty close.
Right. But then me and Jackson did our first interview last week, and I asked him to do the interview the day before we did it. So I've known Jackson for about 8 days
Dude,
now.
it's crazy.
And
That's
I
sick.
talked to Jacob for the first time in person, or over FaceTime, I guess, yesterday.
Yeah,
So
for-
we're all pretty new to each other, and these are pretty unbiased opinions too. We're not just like
Yeah, for
talking
sure.
as if we know each other
What's
and
up,
we're
Nathan
supporting each other's
Shelfstein?
opinions.
It's another YouTuber. It's pretty cool. Nathan
Yeah, for
is in the
sure.
chat. Any other questions regarding like personal style or like anything like that?
Oh, I thought so. For with information, as in like what you personally think is good for informing people right now, or like educating yourself around fashion. I think that there's like a lot more resources on social media than there's ever been before with
Yeah.
different archive pages, or not archive pages because I feel like that's not the informative side of it, but like the
Yours is.
collectives type of
Yours
pages
both
that
are.
are like producing
you.
content that is informative, like your fashion archive or my clothing archive. A lot of
Mhm.
them do really in-depth write-ups on different collections. So I think those are really good resources as well. And I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot of good economic resources right now as well. So I think that like looking into financial means is going to predict a lot of what clothing is going to become too. And that goes on to lead us into whether or not luxury will die out in this time as
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
because there's obviously going to be a financial
that
deficit.
actually
What's up, Jacob?
that actually segues into my question, which is, as we know, the current depression was just at a peak stock, and as far as that goes,
Yeah.
LVMH completely plummeted. They're kind
Yeah.
of
Oh.
struggling right now with what it is to, oh, am I tweaking? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
it's a little
lagging
bit glitchy.
It's like, can you say that one again?
Yeah, so LVMH, Louis Vuitton, and
Yep.
everybody else on top, they're currently like, they don't know what to do right now. Everything
Yeah.
really at a halt.
Mhm.
And an abundance of jobs were just lost. Non-essential items and luxury goods will possibly be at a seize for the moment. What does this mean for people's longevity and the idea of an ideal closet coming out of COVID-19?
I feel like I can talk on that one. I looked a lot into things today just to see like financial markets because I'm into investing portfolios and stuff like that as well. So
Yeah.
I looked at LVMH and they've dropped actually more than they've dropped in the past 10 years on the market. So that's
Yeah.
crazy to think
That's
that
a
the
lot.
that they've had is that grand. I watched a video today. I believe it was from the Fashion Archive. He published something
I just watched that last night.
talking about how Gucci and the entire house around it, I forget the name of the entire house that surrounds it, that owns a variety of brands, but they're owned by Balenciaga and Gucci, I believe, are all under the same general ownership house.
I think it's Bottega Veneta too, and
Yeah, there's a lot of
Dolce &
different
Gabbana.
brands. But their overall valuation, because they didn't show the numbers in the video, so I was curious enough to look into it. In quarter one in 2020, they made $2.52 billion as a whole.
Right.
But in quarter one of 2020, they did $1.9 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, so they lost.
That's a huge loss.
Yeah,
That's a big loss.
that's more than 25% of their overall market almost, right?
That's
so if we're thinking
insane.
about it from that more than 20% of their overall market. But if you're looking at it from that perspective, how much of this drop will continue to happen when we go through a deeper delve in the financial crisis as well? So I
Yeah,
think
that's
this is a
true.
great opportunity for curated sites such as Vestiaire, Grailed, Depop, even eBay. Other secondhand sites, secondhand sellers will overtake a lot of the market. And I feel as if a lot of transactional numbers, if they release quarterly numbers for Grailed, Etsy, anything like that, they'd be a lot higher than what they are usually. I know me and Christian have been talking, and our sales have been a lot higher than what they usually are.
Yeah.
So I think that the need for luxury goods will slowly start to fade out over this time. And I think that it'll actually be a long-term type of fade, because I think luxury just won't be able to make the same return that it has.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
you
people
guys
are
go.
going to care a lot about price. Like, a lot of people won't be able to afford the retail price, as a lot of people already can't. A lot of people already turn to secondhand. So I think it'll be cool to see a lot of people shopping more secondhand, and like, as they can't afford the retail, it'll just be circulated a lot more, I think. And the secondhand people like Grailed and Vestair and Depop will kind of skyrocket a little bit.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like people that were buying fast fashion before, though, like they'll continue to buy fast fashion, because if you're buying, like, if you're able to afford a $900 hoodie like a month ago, I feel like you're still going to be financially stable throughout this crisis. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
could, maybe people will definitely think about their purchases more and think about, like, hey, is this piece going to last me as much as I'm paying for it? But I still feel like a lot of people that are into fast fashion and like that are buying just like the Saint Laurent logo, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like they'll still want to buy that thing. Like, if you're buying that before, then you still can, in my
Right.
opinion.
I actually thought that a lot of I have a bit of a different opinion on it, mainly just because I think that, like, I'm more of a negative outlooking person when it comes to financial markets, because like I just like want to see the worst of it before seeing the best of it, in case like the worst is to happen, right? So in my mind, I think that a lot of the people that are actually buying the luxury brand goods aren't actually luxury consumers. So if you look at the household income of people that are buying luxury goods, their income is actually more lower to middle class than the actual higher class, upper class of the one percenters that are buying the designer goods. It's mainly 16 to 24-year-olds that are buying Gucci that don't have the 6-figure income, even the 5-figure income. It's just people that are getting allowance, or people that are working at a fast food industry restaurant and scraping out their money from that to buy designer
I think
items.
that says something.
Yeah,
that does say a lot about
say
our
something.
society, for sure.
I'm huge into finance as well, and that makes me very happy that you're like very informed. I like to like dive into that too. I think also, as you said, it could also become a problem with Grails and all those other secondhand markets, because it'll get very oversaturated very fast.
Yeah.
I didn't even
So
think
right
of
now,
that.
I think we're at a high point in it, right? But eventually it's going to come to the point of where it's just going to come to a dead stop as well. And I'm prepared for that. I understand it's going to happen. It's not going to be pretty, but it's definitely the reality of what's going to happen.
I could see a lot of people
that,
like downsizing too, to like pay the bills for like essentials and stuff like that, like selling off a lot of their big pieces in their their wardrobes, because like money's gonna get tight soon.
And as we see with the stimulus checks, they're not really
it's not anything.
So, these stimulus checks, I don't think they're actually going to last. I know in Canada, we've already talked about a lot of the different ways you can pay them back. So right now, a lot of them are either A, taxable, all of them are taxable, and B, if you're not paying them back, they're going to have the government or corporations come after you, or your workplace employer come after you for it. Or the next time you apply for EI, you'd be severely taxed on it to the point to recompensate for the fact that you overtook what you needed before. So eventually it all comes back full swing. But it's just, I feel as if when it comes to longevity of your wardrobe, people are going to be making purchases that are more based towards items that they can see themselves having for a while, which is really good.
That's something I've been doing for sure.
Yo, my girlfriend put that in my head way early, and now I do not want to sell anything I get. It's scary. Like,
I like stared at this rack behind me for like a few minutes the other day, and I was like, am I really I don't like wear half the stuff I have. Like on a daily basis. Like, I'll wear some of this stuff maybe once every 3 weeks, even before this whole thing. So is it really worth it to spend that money on something that I'm only going to wear once every few weeks? So I've started to kind of filter that stuff out.
No, that's
See,
good.
From my perspective of things, it's a lot different, because what I do allows me to have an influx of clothing coming in and out. And whether or not I wear it doesn't really matter to me as much, because it's all just items that are for sale. Like, if anyone wants to buy this t-shirt, you can DM me and I will sell it. If you want to buy the helmet jeans that I'm wearing right now, I will sell them. So like my wardrobe is just constantly rotating in a sense of where I'm willing to sell things and let them go. So I feel as if that's not really made like too much of a change for me. But when it comes to people that are like, not to say your average consumer, but consumers that aren't looking to profit off of items and are just looking to enjoy the wear out of items, it'll definitely be more educated decisions.
Yeah. So that last question kind of ties into the question about the production. I think that was you, Christian.
Yeah, I'll read it right now. Let me just grab it.
I like that one.
Thank you. Okay, so I said, for the most part, Italy and China have completely halted factory production. Being two of the largest textile manufacturing hotspots in the world, how do you guys think these designers have overcome these feats to meet public demand? And what alternative routes do you guys see as a possibility to provide to customers? It's a pretty complicated question, but
it's something I gotta think about, because at the same time, I'm not in a position where I can have a full team, like full atelier, as most big companies already have, like 10, 20. You gotta think about it. They're in multiple distributing places. They have places that are small families, like Dior. They go through a small family in, I don't want to get it like incorrect or sound ignorant, but I believe it's somewhere in India, something like that. They have a textile distributor somewhere in Japan. They have all these distributing places, and these are small families. A lot of they're very old techniques that are used, and then there's also the distributing companies that do textiles in-house, like Louis Vuitton. They have their own silk manufacturing process, so what they do is all up to them, but the people that they have to pay, and like you said earlier, it's just tanked. They lost 25% of what they were previously. All that fund goes into all the process for what they do.
I saw something too, and it was like, I think it was in Bangladesh or somewhere around there. There's like a huge manufacturing thing, and they lost $2.2 billion because everything had to be seized because of coronavirus. Like, it was spreading like wildfire. So like, how are they going to outsource like $2.2 billion worth of stuff that they have to make? Like, that's like crazy logistical.
And I could only imagine how insane it is in some of those factories, because they work like close together in some of those places, especially the fast fashion places. Those conditions are already trash. And with this going on, I could only imagine how hectic that is. Like,
and they have to push stuff out, and the new seasons are right around the corner too. So everyone's trying to get ready-made stuff ready to go. So
speaking of that, I had a question. Okay. So SLP has announced that they're taking control of their own pace and moving away from the typical seasonal collections with Fashion Week and everything. They said they're creating their own calendar. What are your thoughts on this, and what do you guys think other major houses will follow?
Here, Jacob, you go ahead on this one.
Okay, dude, I love it. Like, honestly, I think this is how maybe not all, but most big labels, homemade labels, should present themselves. As nice as it is to see a consistent season to season, it also gives them a chance to find new technology in a longer span of time. So say you want to release something right now, but everybody's doing something, or they're always taking from another brand, you can develop your own a new type of, say you want to do a tweed, like maybe you want to do a different development in fabrics, but it takes a year for you to source it. You can take that year.
There's no rush.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a rush. Everything's executed perfectly. Because as you notice with a lot of runways, a lot of the times, I've seen personally, a lot of them don't push pieces that are meant to be out. Their atelier is always under a lot of pressure. It's very high stakes, cutthroat environment, dude. Like, it's scary. So
I think that it could either, like, it's a very good idea, but I think that it's also so like abnormal and out there that it's either going to gain the brand a ton of attention because it's never been seen before, like having your own schedule, or it's going to lose them a ton because people, like, there's not going to be as much press. Say if you were at Paris Fashion Week doing like a giant show there, and then they have own show sometime in the summer. Like it might be bad, but it could be really good too at the same time. It's never been done before. We'll just have to see.
I also feel like something with that, like not only can they take the time to make different stuff, but I feel like the presentation and everything might just be better. I mean, if you're not under the constant rush to get ready for something like that twice a year, it could just, I think it could improve everything a lot more.
I think so as well. So looking into things, I took a look into it. I'll be 100% honest with you. Eddie is like the last person I was like really watching at SRP, and I still wasn't even like a huge fan of what was going on there at the time. I'm just not like a huge Eddie guy. So personally, like, I think Anthony Vaccarello, who's the creative director there now, he was at Versus Versace and doing some collections there. And he also worked under Lagerfeld at Fendi before doing accessories. So I think Anthony Vaccarello has a lot of credentials under his belt to be able to do something like this. It's not like a new designer's coming to the table and presenting this abstract idea, just being like someone who's never had any industry experience and is trying to present this idea. He understands and has a good grasp on the industry and is trying to push something new. So I think that like he's definitely taking steps in the right direction, and people should like accredit him a little bit more for what he does. I feel like he gets outshadowed by Eddie a lot because he just has to fill in the boots of where Eddie was before. But I think that like something like this is a great example of how designers don't have to be pressured as much, exactly as all of you were saying. So now let's say Raph Simmons is co-director of Prada, right? So seeing as he's now co-director of Prada, which is crazy, by the way, I'm really excited for that. He's going to have 4 collections to push out within a span of 12 months. Because he has to do the creation for Prada, spring, summer, Prada, fall, winter, Raph Simmons, spring, summer, Raph Simmons, fall, winter. And that's not including any cruise collections and any of the other stuff that gets thrown into the mix. We're not on the schedule of 2 seasonal collections anymore. We're doing 5 to 6 seasonal collections now. Even for mainstream luxury designer brands, they do Louis Vuitton cruise, they do Louis Vuitton spring, summer, they do capsule collections, they do everything. There's so much more than just spring, summer. And it's so refreshing to see designers pushing forward a new idea of no longer staying within the realm of 2 basic collections or more than 2 basic collections and just being on their own timeline. I think it'll be a lot more quality.
Yeah, that's an extremely good point.
So, shit, let's just like round of applause.
Let's do a round of applause for that one.
Yo, let's go.
Damn, I didn't expect that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing I wanted to add in though, with like what I theorized for it, because a lot of people were like, oh, it's not gonna work. I've talked to a lot of people that are like really like not stressed, but like people that are environmentally conscious want to see this working out because it's something that'll obviously help. So personally,
decrease production.
Like, I refuse to buy new clothes for the most part. So
Me too.
As someone who does that, like I want this to work out for the sake of our environment as well. But I think that if this was to work out, I think that the marketing scheme for it would be really unique. And you could almost market it as what hype brands do. We've seen the lines between luxury and hype get drawn to a little bit more of a like standpoint where they're closer together and it's like intertwined now. You don't really know the difference between the two. So seeing luxury brands, so let's say Saint Laurent was to do a drop, they could do a drop on a certain week and there'd be a hype like group anticipating it and waiting for that. And then if you were to release Chanel's collection 2 weeks later, then Chanel would have that hype building up to their collection. All the collections being at the same time just makes it so that you have to pick and choose which ones are your favorites. But seeing all the collections spread out to whenever creates hype around it, the same way the music industry releases albums on different times. No one releases albums at a spring, summer, and a fall, winter. Everybody does albums at different times to create hype for their album. If you release your album on the same day as another rapper, you're not getting as much attention to both of your albums. So I think this allows for a lot more individuality and for different houses to get their own reputation back as opposed to being drowned out by the masses.
Yo, I just want to say, somebody said greetings from Germany. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate it.
Yo, that's sick.
Shout out Germany. Let's go. Dude, oh my God. I was literally thinking about that the whole time. Like 100%, like the music industry, how some approach, because the industry is very small, but the way they do things is just set. And I have noticed with a lot of independent artists, they always release what they want when they want. And it really weeds out their quality of music and their own quality of life. And as you were saying with hype around those brands like that, and with Saint Laurent, they already have a cult following, like 100%.
Yeah.
04 to 8 is like beautiful. But as we see with these coming drops or whatever they plan on doing, I think the cult around their current, like, I literally just forgot his name, bro. Oh my god.
Vaccarello.
Yes, with Beccarello, he's gonna have his own cult with this coming new venture, and it's gonna be really amazing to see how that goes. And as far as independent brands, I think this is definitely gonna weed them out. It'll definitely show their longevity. Like with me personally, I'm stuck right now because I can't do anything. There's a lot of places that are doing DIY, handmade stuff, which is great. That's not something that's calculate well.
I feel like you offer a really cool perspective because you know, like on a smaller scale, obviously, but you know, like the struggles that they're going through right now. Since I know you have the cargos and everything that you're trying to get pushed out. So I think it's cool that you can offer that perspective of somebody who's actually making.
That's so unique. I love that.
Yeah, it's so sick.
But yeah, on top of that, definitely more cult followings. It'll be an easier way to address fashion in mainstream. And I really am excited to see what happens to the hype culture as far as like drops, because everybody can save like on a weekly basis, but no one can like really stand and be like, okay, cool, I can't wait for this next release to come out. Oh wait, fashion show, shit, that's gonna be a lot of money. But even then, like a lot of people can't access Paris Fashion Week. It's very hard. Like, and nobody wants to pay a fucking $4,000 ticket to fly there.
No. And then what's your odds of getting into a show from there too? Like, you have to have that connection to a buyer. You have to have that connection to somebody who's intertwined with the brand somehow. You don't just show up in a cool outfit and get to show up to the.
I feel like that's how they make it seem sometimes. Like these influencers just show up and they're like, "Hey, look, I'm at this show," when they don't like show what they actually have to do to
like
get that.
What goes on behind the scenes just to get in there.
There's a lot of different connections you have to make in the first place in order to get into those type of shows. You don't just get to go into the show. You're interconnected with somebody in the brand who's been supplying you, or like not even been supplying you, but they want you to be seen as a public face of the brand. They think that your representation of the brand would be positively affecting them, and people will buy more from the brand because you're at the show. So that's
I also
why
believe.
Oh my bad. No, go ahead. Sorry.
I also believe that when people see the influencers there, a lot of the times they assume that they're a big buyer, heavy. They buy things in bulk. You notice they wear a lot of their stuff, and I think that there's a very big misconception because you can buy a lot of things and not know who the fuck you're buying it from.
Yeah.
You support the brand, the label, but why are you there? Like, actually appreciate what's being made, all the time that it took to not only manufacture but process, really get the feel for everything, because they have teams for this. And a lot of the times I like to get really like close and hands-on with things, especially with my label. Like, we're working on that new dye. I don't want to spill too much, but like, I really like to get in touch with a lot of the different people who distribute these things. And it's very elitist. I think, I mean, personally, people from the outside in, it's very an elitist thing to be oh yeah, I love the way they stitch these things so meticulously. It's so beautiful. And then the people are just like, ha ha ha.
And a lot of the times I feel like people, like, not only do they not know the process and stuff, but they don't even like know anything about the brand at all. They just like how it looks. They don't know the design ethos. They don't know who the designer is of the house sometimes.
Yeah,
just like
anybody
it's kind of
can
annoying.
Actually name the creative director of Chrome Hearts.
God.
Drop the comment. I guarantee no one knows. I don't know myself.
Don't drop any names.
No.
I don't know myself personally. I'll be straight up honest. But the brands that I am interested in, I know about, and I like looking into the background of it. I feel as if with creative direction, a lot of people in the fashion industry see the face of the brand as the creative director, and they don't understand that other people are making the clothes, other people are producing the clothes. There's more steps to it than just Kim Jones being at the head of Dior saying, hey guys, I've produced this entire collection on my own. That's not what happens. There's hundreds of people, thousands of people interconnected to creating one collection. It's not just one person being at the head of creative design. Virgil Abloh isn't the only person that makes off-white.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Exactly. And he loves to show that. And I think that's a very unique thing. Not a lot of people like to present their personal, very close atelier. Like you notice, he works in Italy.
He posts the house a lot. He posts the people that work for him a lot.
Definitely. Also, pray for Italy.
Yeah,
please,
for sure.
Please take care of yourself, guys. But dude, yeah, he loves to post a lot about his atelier because he's proud that he's able to do what he does. And I love the self-awareness, like 100%.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think he's a great example of a designer that isn't just saying, I'm the only face of this brand and I'm doing what I'm doing. Like that moment where, as corny as it is, where that moment where Kanye like hugged Virgil on the Louis Vuitton runway show for his first runway. Like that moment was because Kanye had Virgil working under him before, and Virgil realized at that point was like a turning point in his career that got the wheels rolling for him, and now he's reached this point of where he's creative director of LV.
Mm-hmm. I didn't even know that Kanye was supposed to have that spot at LV and Virgil took it from him. Like that's crazy. And especially because Kanye basically like gave him his light. Like he showed him the fashion industry, and then he just took away the one thing that Kanye wanted like forever. It's crazy.
Literally was like Louis Vuitton Don for a while.
Yeah.
Oh, yo, like, and he still is. Like, what do you think all that stuff went to auction mainly? But like, dude, he's still
all the Murakamis are still at his house. You seen that Murakami picture of like the "Can't Let Me Down" preview where he was doing the So he had like all the Murakami trunks stacked. He had the big Murakami pillows, all the LV boxes and everything. Like that was the preview teaser of "Can't Let Me Down." So like Kanye was like definitely like the man for Louis Vuitton before. That's for sure.
And you know, like, I really do think that Kanye doesn't get a lot of appreciation as far as like being there in the fashion industry. He mentions a lot about how when with his time at Fendi, they really turned him down for a lot of ideas that were very popular in the mainstream. And I think maybe that's why, because they saw it coming. But as far as his design ethos, we notice with Yeezy, he really likes to take advancements in what he thinks is a trend.
Yeah, like the religious stuff right now. Like how we only use like the certain fabrics and stuff.
I don't want to segue that into like religion is a trend, but like but yeah, dude, like his own beliefs are definitely coming into fruition, and I really appreciate that coming from someone.
I think that's really interesting too.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but Yeezy season 8 was absolutely horrendous.
A lot of what Kanye has been doing recently has been pretty bad. Like even the new Yeezys that are releasing, they all look the exact same at this point. Like, it's pathetic a little bit.
I mean part of those Yeezys that are coming out like earth, dirt, like all the same color. They're the same color, and like it's kind of feeds into the overconsumption aspect that we were talking about before.
So
all right, we got some more questions in here. We kind of got off topic a lot.
Yeah, we went
that was a long
from like manufacturing production to how Kanye dominated old Louis. All right, so I can get going on one of my topics then. I can swing it a little bit off the course of what we've been going off of lately, but along the same lines of runway. So talking about more cancellations, I said seeing as traditional high density population runway shows are currently illegal, how will designers introduce new collections and present them to the general public?
I was talking to Jacob and Jackson before like we started this whole live stream, and I was just talking about like I didn't even know this was a thing, but apparently in New York there's like a bridal market where I guess a bunch of designers show off like their crazy dresses and stuff like that, and they have completely gone digital, and apparently like it was a huge show, like a big show.
Oh wow.
But now they're only doing Zoom and join.me technologies, it's called. And a lot of like big houses are starting to consider live streaming because I forget, it was Armani, Dior, Gucci, Hermes, Max Mara, Prada, Chanel, and Versace have all canceled their shows or postponed them. So
Right.
Yeah.
someone has to find an alternative to a traditional runway show. And I mean, I'm sure that they have already started working on an alternative, but like I'm really interested to see how they're going to do it.
Yeah. I was thinking about the whole live stream thing, and like I feel like I just don't know if it'd be the same. Like I feel like part of having like a runway and a show and everything is like having the audience there and having people actually be there. Like if you're a journalist right now and you watch a live stream, that would be so different than actually being at the show and having an idea of what happened and the atmosphere and everything that went on. So
100%. Jackson, you know a good bit about Hamkiss. Do you want to talk about Hamkiss as an overall brand and then see
Such
like
a sick
about
brand.
their creative direction?
yeah, I mean, I think the way that they already present stuff is super sick. Like they create these whole environments and stuff online. They have these online like kind of presentations or lookbook type things. So they don't really have to like make any moves at this point, honestly, to accommodate this whole pandemic. But yeah, I really appreciate the way that they present their whole ethos and everything. It's like,
So-
dude, just like the way that they're like the storyline works and how they like present everything is just crazy to
It's
me.
like a whole universe. Like it's crazy
Yeah,
the storyline and like the plot that they have. And like I was reading through like the different, like I don't even know what they are, like characters or like tribes, I guess. Like you
Yeah.
I think they
get
call
put-
them factions.
Yeah, they're like tribes.
It's crazy, like the storyline. Like I can't even imagine how much time and effort they've put into this stuff. And I feel like they're not getting nearly the recognition that they deserve.
It's
too.
been going since 2015, and people don't realize that. Like people are like,
Yeah.
"Oh, Hamkiss is like one of the best up and coming brands."
Mhm.
It's been happening for 5 years. Like people are just starting to get exposed to the light of it now.
And it's
So for
crazy.
Shout
those
out
The
who-
Bliss
pieces are
Foster.
Yes.
Yeah, seriously. I
Bliss
feel like
put
we
me
all
onto-
learned
Bliss
about
put me
that.
onto
program.
that. All of us definitely got put onto Hamkiss by Bliss. So thank you, Bliss, if you are for some reason watching this.
Might be. Who
That'd be
knows?
so sick.
Yo,
Yeah.
he follows just about everybody. So
Yeah, Bliss follows me, so hopefully he's
Dude.
watching.
what a
Um,
guy. Sick.
So I said that, like, for those who don't know what Hamkiss is about, because like we like briefly touched on it, they're a sci-fi based brand that has created an entire storyline around their runway, or not runway, because they don't do runway. That's the thing that's different about them. So they've created an entire storyline around different factions, creating different aesthetics for their brand. So they have maybe 5 or 6 aesthetics linked to a post-futurist, or I guess a postmodernistic, like utilitarian style. Like I don't even know, tech wear, I guess, like a tech.
Yeah.
I don't even know if
Style, like,
can you
militaristic wear.
categorize it as that? Like
It's kind of its
I
own
wanna
genre.
say- Yeah,
It's
I
like-
want to say that it's extremely utilitarian with tech.
they
Yeah.
incorporate
It
like
was like-
Western stuff too, with like the hats and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's it. It's so cool.
I think that like
Yeah.
a lot of what Hamkiss is doing is definitely like changing a lot of people's perspective on fashion if they have heard about Hamkiss, obviously. Because I think that like
Definitely
it's
good for me.
something that is creating this new path and saying designers don't have to follow this traditional path, and seeing that if Hamkiss is to get more successful, I think that'll provide an outlet for a lot of designers to realize that they don't have to follow this path. So I'd love to see it get successful, not just because I support the brand, but because I support their vision to create something outside of the typical runway so that they can have other brands follow suit with what they're doing, not directly, obviously, but for being creating online shows.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't know if you guys have ever like got anything from them, but when you get like the package, like their presentation is crazy. Like they have like
I haven't.
a nice like cloth bag. They have like hang tags, kind of like off-white. They have like tons of tags and like kind of an explanation of what's going on. That really, I think,
so
I
sick.
appreciate the time that goes into that. Yeah, I just want to say, somebody said, "Hello, you all look like your dad makes you wear a latex dog suit."
Awesome.
What?
Thank you for that.
Yeah,
What does that
I've been
mean?
kind of looking at the chat sometimes. It's pretty interesting.
I've
Somebody
been
also said
meaning to.
Easy Season 8 is amazing.
I mean,
Someone said Yeezy Season 8's amazing.
Yep.
you know what is amazing though?
I thought that maybe I was a little
You
bit
can have
harsh.
your opinion
The
too.
clothes are mediocre. The presentation was bad. I thought it was very not it was informal to have.
Okay,
North
we're
go
back on the Kanye
stage
topic right
and
now.
shout.
You guys,
One more time.
Did you
I
guys
work
see how?
closely.
If you are watching, but I didn't understand where it was going. If it was like if it had some sort of tie into the show, maybe it would have made more sense. But it was kind of just random, and then North came on the stage and started screaming, and I didn't understand.
Yeah, it kind of disturbed
Yeah.
me. Did you guys see how he drove through Chicago in those like tank things and
Yeah,
threw the
and handed
Yeezys
out
out
the
the back?
shoes.
You had to
Yo.
trade. Okay, you had to trade in your shoes to get the shoes,
What?
and they would
Yeah.
turn you down if you had like Air Forces or something, like something not.
Yeah, it was
They would
crazy.
turn you down.
That's
What
so
the hell?
weird.
I thought he was just giving them out for charity.
Yeah.
No, bro.
No.
It was like, you know what? I think at the end of the day, it makes sense. Charity, he's probably giving out shoes
Yeah,
that you have
he is,
already
but
been
like,
wearing. But like,
yeah,
on topic of what we were just discussing.
Yeah. Going back into the whole runway themes. So
Yeah.
another thing that I wanted to touch on for a runway presentation was Yang Lee. So me and Jackson were talking about it and Yang Lee a little bit in our last video.
Mhm.
So I said that Yang Lee previously shot the lookbook for an entire collection after mailing outfits to each of his models, which I believe was close to over 100 models. And then he had each of them take a picture however they chose in whatever way they wanted with that outfit on. And then he presented like an overall just cluttered feed on Instagram, I believe, of all of those looks and put them together on his feed. And I thought that was
you know who just copied that or kind of did the same thing? Helmet Lang sent.
Yo, I was
close
just
to-
thinking that.
Yes, bro. They sent it to like the like illegal civ like influencers, like skater people, and like got them to
Yes.
take
I
a
love
photo
illegal
shoot in
civ,
them.
though.
Dude,
I
there's
love
a
illegal
guy
Yeah,
in
me too.
SF who
Me too.
literally I always see at the bricks. He's always skating. I can't remember his name.
Here,
He
let me
just posted
pull
it.
up. Let me pull up Helmet Lang's feed right now.
Okay, but
It's yeah,
Helmet
keep going.
Lang
My bad.
has become, I don't even,
A joke.
Yeah,
like,
so sad.
I think it's really sad to me that we've seen such a great designer brand that was outstanding up until
Mhm.
let's say 2005, because that was like helmet's last collection at the helm. But like, even if you were to give them more lenience room, because like the first few years weren't as bad, but
Mhm.
like now with like the plastered logo type of Helmet Lang stuff, that's not even like
Yeah.
a reissuing of old stuff.
Mhm.
It's
it's
not
like-
even like.
No, it's like not, because Helmet Lang was a brand that was based around minimalism and based around anti-fashion.
Mhm.
And what new Helmet Lang is based around is marketing based
the-
off of
like
using
the
a logo,
opposite.
which is the opposite of anti-fashion
Yeah.
altogether.
Yeah.
Like they got Nico in a picture with his dog and like
Well, that's
doing
sick.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
And they're also, it's very smart marketing. The
It's a
mask
cool marketing ploy, yeah.
home.
Mhm.
It's a big marketing algorithm that they've created too, because it's just like, if you want a really easy way to introduce people, and they run ads.
Mhm.
Every
Oh, yeah.
brand.
Yeah.
So one way for them to really garner their own marketplace within the realm of like the under, let's say, six figure, and politically correct, the underbelly market, that is where I want to say, I don't want to say where we are, but like basically where we are,
Yeah.
16
Where
to
we are.
24-year-olds.
Yeah.
They're consuming this shit like candy. Like
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
every day,
100%.
every day. Like
Oh,
people
yeah.
always see it. You see people that are reposting it, or
Mhm.
like mood board accounts. Shout out on my mood board accounts.
rappers,
Like
rappers,
rappers,
influence.
all
Bruh,
I-
like number 9 Helmet Lang, Chrome Hearts, a few others are
2016.
like
What a year.
Cardi, Uzi,
Rappers.
Rocky. That's what happened.
yes.
Cardi,
Oh my
Uzi,
God.
Rocky, like single-handedly, the three of them have made like everybody just like start buying all this stuff that like they weren't aware of before. Like,
Travis
and
has
it's
a
not
huge
even like the
influence too, though.
archive stuff of it. It's like
That's facts.
it's like if you see Ian Connor wearing number 9, the first thing you find from number 9 is the Mickey tees.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yes.
Like I'm just saying, like I'm gonna be pretty brutal, but like people within the age group of like 16 to 24 have the highest disposable income, but also
Mhm.
the lowest amount of money. But we're
Mhm.
still some of the biggest spenders in the fashion industry.
Yeah.
So why is that? Because people our age are obsessed with this appearance of becoming more like
something they're not.
The esteem aspect of it, of where
Yeah.
like there's self-esteem, and then from there you have the self-fulfillment of where it's just like you've become happy with yourself, and then you can also become like better than what other people are, is like what they want their mindset to be at, right? So you just want to be that guy that's a little bit more stylish than this guy, or a little bit more stylish than this guy. So it's just an over consumerism like bundle of things that happens. And our biggest marketing ploy that we're falling into right now, Jacob, you're 100% right, is having all these influencers wearing everything. And Jackson, with you mentioning with rappers too, that's perfect, because having all these designers produce clothing and give it to influencers for free, they're not losing money on that. By having 100 people repost that item that already have hundreds of thousands of followers, you've now reached a grand network of millions of people because you've just sent out maybe 100 free t-shirts. And that's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. It's a speeding ticket when you're on the way to cash in a lottery ticket. It's not that big of a deal.
And I mean, at this age too, like we're so easily influenced, and by these brands like constantly like promoting with our favorite rappers and stuff like that, they're practically like molding us into like, yeah, this is good, this is what makes you popular type thing. Like, and it's such a like smart marketing ploy, and especially because like such a like all these brands have such a larger social media presence now, and even with like the Helmet Lang and stuff like that, like they're really influencing us and just honing in on like we're at home all day, we wake up at whatever time, and then you scroll through your feed for like half an hour to catch up, right? Well, you're seeing all of this like Helmet Lang, all this Louis, everything that's new that's coming out, and you're like, damn, I want that now. And then you start that day, and they kind of just plant that little seed in your head, you know. It's actually pretty smart and crazy that they've even been able to do that.
Kind of another thing on the rapper topic is like, I don't know why, but a lot of them claim they don't have a stylist. And that kind of makes people think that they're dressing like kind of to be like that person in a way. Like it might be subconscious, but if you see A$AP Rocky wearing something, if you're an A$AP Rocky fan, you're gonna be like, hey, I want to be like him. But they say no stylist, I dress myself. It kind of makes a false credibility in a way.
I think that like all these rappers saying that they have no stylist, like I don't think that like they receive the brand exposure from the brands itself. Like it's just kind of like they're introduced to it through someone who like introduced it to them because they're into the realm of fashion. They're just like, this is something that'll be popping. Like, let's get you influencing things so that you can produce this consumer market based off of what you're wearing as well. So I think that like stylists play a bigger role in influencing than what the actual artists do, because the stylists are the one who's influencing the industry. If you're going to put Travis Scott in a Supreme box logo from 2008, that's what you're going to do. But if you're going to put him in a Yoji sweater, that's going to put more people onto Yoji Yamamoto. Like you're putting designers work out there for exposure just by putting it on somebody. And that's so crazy to think that like the exposure from someone that popular can lead to the success of other designers just solely through that. Like seeing brands that started as nothing but just gain traction through rappers and gain traction through Instagram influencers that not paid their way but got a connection somehow and managed to find the credibility to have a brand start up from basically scratch.
For sure.
We see that now more than ever. Back to the mood board topic, actually, sneakerheads, they're getting a lot more traction. Dunks and shit, like they're popping right now. I'm a big
You're a big dunk head, right?
You're a big dunk guy. I know you're.
I'm a pretty big dunk guy.
You repost them dunks yesterday. The caramel ones, those are pretty.
Those are beautiful, dude.
Especially with like the Travis Scott dunk, like that gained so much attention to dunks, and like people really recognize that this is a trend. You know what I mean?
And on topic with that, how do you guys feel about maybe the merge between worlds? We look at rappers on topic. They like to mix their wardrobe. They stay true to their roots. They wear sneakers, and they also wear Rick. So say you're full Rick, you got some like Jordans on. How do you guys feel about
like you got some Jordan 4 cements with like the Rick drop crotch on?
How do you guys feel about that?
I feel like a lot of the rappers do that though, is because like a lot of the rappers came from nothing. You see nowadays, like a lot of people like Travis, I think that he didn't have much growing up, right? So they have like this giant wish list of shoes that they want, and they can finally afford them. But now they're being exposed to all these other like rapper friends, right? And they're all wearing Rick and they're wearing Chrome Hearts and stuff, and they're like, oh, I want that. And then all of a sudden they don't have a stylist, and then they mix the two, and then it just kind of comes into one big mashup.
I feel as if it's like,
yo, somebody said Cardi was wearing Andy boots in his new music video.
Yes, he was wearing the back laces.
Yeah, I saw those.
I love that. I saw the back laces on him. I saw the black Andy like Vitello boots, and I was just like, oh man. But yeah,
and then
he's definitely like him of all people. I think it like actually really works out well for him to be wearing like the slimmer type of silhouettes, like the dark core type wear that I'm going back to again, like with that like old school like Vivian Sedestionnaire stuff, the old like with like the slimmer fitting Rick stuff, like it fits his body proportions more than like what a lot of the other rappers were. Like I think it works for him. But like I think when it comes to mixing style with like mixing like the streetwear with like the avant-garde designer type stuff is really like up to you. Like designers like don't intend to have their pieces styled in the way they present them, how they want them to, not want them, but like they present them how they see fit to be styled. But clothing at the end of the day is just clothing. Shoes are just shoes. It's meant to be put together however you feel. It's a form of personal expression. So like it's not really something that bothers me. I'm never going to be one to critique someone because they're wearing chunky philos with Rick sweats.
Well, that might be pushing it.
I got a few things in the chat. Ezra, I think if this is the same Ezra I'm thinking of,
Ezra
he said every single one of them. Ezra Kenyon. I don't know if that's him, if that's his YouTube account.
But maybe it's like if this is Craig Ezra.
Seriously,
that's what I'm your style, my friend.
He said every single one of them got a stylist, and Cardi is one of the best dressed rappers for sure.
Yes, 100%.
I agree. And then also somebody said ID on the No Future tee. If you want to talk about that for a few seconds.
It's a Vivienne Westwood Sedestionnaires Boy London not reprinted, but it's a reissued one from Boy London era Sedestionnaires. So basically, Sedestionnaires started off as sex shop, and then they created it from there. And they they were co-owned with another store. That store ended up being shut down for legal reasons, so they took over the entirety of the store. They created band tees for a bunch of different various punk images and just created something that was popular at the time because punk imagery was very popular. And then they just gained a lot of traction. Sex Pistols began wearing their clothes. Sid Vicious actually worked at the shop. The main, a lot of the people in the band actually worked there or did auditions there to get into the band for Sex Pistols, which is crazy. And then when you think about the actual influence of it, considering it only lasted so long. So Vivienne Westwood had no fashion experience, but her boyfriend, Malcolm McLaren, was creating this brand, and Vivienne started doing her design, and that's how she started her career at Sedestionnaires.
It's kind of crazy.
So then from there, it lasted a short amount of time, but then Vivienne and Malcolm broke up. So Vivienne split and started her own designer label, obviously Vivienne Westwood, what we all know is today. So that's a crazy like startup route for her. And then Malcolm split and just was more into music industry, I believe, than anything that he was doing there. And then the label was sold off to Boy London, which is a traditional heritage UK brand. And for about 3 or 4 years, they just publicized like older unreleased versions of Vivienne Westwood graphics. And this is just one of them. So I think this is this one here is like late 80s, early 90s Vivienne. So
this man is a dictionary. I swear.
There's some crazy stuff about that collection too, like with the swastikas and stuff. I learned that like the whole point of that collection was to take away the power from those symbols and from everything like that. Like they were trying to just modernize it. I mean, I guess modernize is kind of like it has a lot of history, and you don't want to like offend anyone, but like that it's kind of crazy that they just went out there and did that. Like no modern day label could even remotely think of that. They'd get canceled so quickly.
Yeah. In a time where anti-fashion wasn't labeled as anti-fashion until the late 80s, we're talking about the 70s right now. That's 70, 78, sometime around then. Yeah, that was fresh. That was
Yeah.
30 years ago. Like that was 30 years after the fact. There were a lot of people recovering. We had Jewish survivors coming into the States. We
Yeah.
had
Mhm.
a lot of people splitting off into the rest of the world. And at
Mhm.
that time, it was the punk scene that was really taking those people into consideration and being like, yo, fuck the power.
Yeah.
This shit's still
Yeah.
happening.
Yeah. Like
I'm gonna
people
just like water everything down. No more shit. Anarchy.
I think people
Let's
think
get
that
this shit
punk
now.
revolutions were
Punk rock.
people think that punk revolution was something that was like really bad, but I don't think that punk revolution was meant to be something that was a form of like mischief. It was just meant to be a form of information and a form of like
Yeah.
self-representation because these
Yeah.
people felt isolated and these people felt like they weren't part of what was a societal norm. So
Yeah.
that's why with creating graphics that were taking away the power of different racist imagery or sexist imagery, they're placing that on shirts because that's just taking away the formality of the power of these symbolizations. And by doing that, you're empowering people that feel like they don't have anything, and that's why they join punk movements. So I feel as if punk really gets a bad rap for being like the bad boy style of fashion because
Yeah.
it's nothing to do with like mischief. It's about like
So
freeing yourself.
somebody made a pretty bold statement. He said, shout out Stone, by the way. I know who this is. He said, I mean, Beastroy doing that right now with the school shooting t-shirts, aren't they? But they kind of got canceled.
Whoa,
I don't know if that's the
That's
same
so
thing.
good.
It's true.
That's
That's
a
true.
fantastic point. I love that. So
Mhm.
being
Really.
someone that is Dewey Couture's, that's the creative director of Beastroy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So Dewey, first off, I think he like is doing a really good job with Beastroy being just like that. Like, it's not something that we're seeing very often, but like you can see the punk style influences from it for sure.
Mhm.
But I think that like the school shooting collection wasn't meant to be something that was empowering. I feel as if it was just meant to be something that was attention grabbing more than anything.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this today too, because I watched that video where we were talking about, oh, this is a different video actually. It was talking about like people that thought that like what archive pieces will be, and someone's like the Balenciaga shirt, like, you know, the one that has like the dress
Oh,
shirt
yeah.
attached to.
Oh yeah.
Dude,
Yeah.
Demna's a genius.
So then I was just like, that was an attention piece, right? Like Demna is someone who creates pieces that are meant to be attention grabbing for only a couple of pieces. He'll do stupid stuff that he isn't intending to be part of his ready to wear. He's making it because he wants to get that repost. He wants to get those people talking about this stuff. So Beastroy doing that collection, I don't think it was meant to be like an informative collection as to being like, oh, this is how we commemorate school shootings. And like, we understand that like, we're going to be donating money towards like US like families that have been affected by this or anything like that. I think it was more of just like an attention style thing that was getting in news headlines. And I think that's actually done exactly what Dewey wanted as a designer, because it's created so much talk about Beastroy. Like the news titles around fashion for a whole week was just Beastroy does this school shooting collection. It was pictures of the runway. It was pictures of other Beastroy pieces. People are clicking on the Beastroy website to see if those hoodies are available, and they end up buying other stuff because there's other stuff available.
Yeah,
That's
there's a
why
shock
you do it.
factor to it, and that's the beauty of it. Like, it's crazy how you can market something just like that. Like, it just has to be something that isn't normal and is like avant-garde, kind of like it's just kind of not normal, and you can get clicks just like that. It's like it's all a mind game, essentially.
And I think the way that it was also presented, the avant-garde take on what contemporary fashion is presented as.
Yeah.
You can provoke more audiences when you have such a broad range of people in one setting. Like, imagine how those people felt as soon as they came out. No one knows what's really going on. All they see are just like basic pieces. And I'm not sure. I only read like a few lines before when it first was like released. I don't think they previewed any of that stuff actually.
No,
So,
that's why.
I mean, I
if
think
they did preview it, guess what would have happened? That would have been canceled. So they had to do it. If you're previewing it the way that you would have done it, they knew that it would create this controversial reaction. That's why they created it. It was meant to be controversial. That is a fantastic comment, Stone. I appreciate you for saying that.
Yeah,
that was really good.
Yeah, he said. Yeah, he just said it's taboo, essentially.
Yeah,
it is taboo,
totally
and that's and like avant-garde fashion, dark core fashion is the best. Like it's the greatest community around taboo, like body shape, different ways of body modification, like the
even like
excess.
masculinity, like
Yeah,
versus femininity
it plays
and
the
stuff like
biggest
that.
role because the figures are so fragile. It's like you could almost break their arm just like by, because you see like fabrics how they're like Carol Christian poem. Let's take that for an example. Everything he makes reflects anti-fashion and the ideals of human torture. Like,
well, that's why he had
spine bag Arnold Putra.
yo, it's kind of hard. Like, sadistically, it's pretty fucked up, but it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
Well, that's why CCP made like a lot of different collections. I think it was 03, 04, if that's not mainstream downstream. Mainstream downstream was 2004, 2005, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think it was 03, 04. They did a jail cell collection that was like basically all of the models were in jail cells, and they panned around like a circular like style dome jail, and then they just filmed it like that. So I feel as if like that perfectly ties into the elements of like human torture, because like imprisonment and like self-isolation is one of the biggest elements of like human torture, because like the physical attraction and like need to be with or seeing people is like one of our biggest things, and that ties right into like what we're going through with our pandemic right now. Like we want to see people, we want to talk to people. So like the idea of like imprisonment is like not too far off like what we're talking about right now and like what we're going through right now.
I'm really excited to see what happens now, because a lot of the independent designers, I can't really name any off the top of my head right now, but coming through this, I hope to see more avant-garde, maybe like darker, very story heavy, as hard as that is, as not driven as it should be. I like to believe that you could definitely express the defrain of being in social isolation. It'll definitely decrep the mind, especially being in the time that we're in now, especially if you're in Europe. It's terrible right now there.
I feel like a lot of designers too will start coming out with new things. Like I feel like a lot of people will start inventing, because we do have so much time on our hands, right? So I feel like the next season that comes out, they might be absolutely insane, because this has never happened before. Designers have never had this type of time before on their hands, you know what I mean? So I think that it could be really, really cool to see what these designers are coming up with right now. And I mean, they have like this isolation, like you were talking about, like they can build off of that, and you can take that so many different ways that and it's like a whole new concept. So I feel like we could definitely see some new stuff, and I feel like we should definitely keep our eyes peeled out for that, you know what I mean?
So another person made a good point, which I agree with. He said the difference with CCP and companies like Beastroy is now it's become normal to try to gain attention just for the sake of getting attention.
That's true. Also, just want to say shout out Ezra.
That's what bothered me about that.
But definitely. And he also just commented again, CCP offers human ideal and gives food for thought, which makes a difference, which I think is beautiful actually. And gaining that indifference between the darkness of like what actually goes on in the mind of a creative like that. Like he's had years and years of leather like knowledge, because his father was a leather producer, leather maker,
something like that.
So like just imagine what you could really express in a time where I don't even know when he was born, but like imagine like being told stories of like those old days, and you really put yourself there, because his father then, where were they from? Austria?
I'm not 100% sure, to be honest.
I think he's Austrian,
Austrian, about that time, maybe in the 30s, 40s. He likes to take classic silhouettes. Like you can see it.
Of course. Oh yeah.
What he does. Very like.
Well, it's a lot of 50s and 60s military and workwear inspired as well. So when you see like the vest bag is a prime example of that. Like, have you seen the leather? They have a leather and a suede like padded vest bag, I think. Like the strap one that goes over, and then you have like it's almost like rib cages, I guess, right? Like the rib cage style.
I've seen it.
So that one there is inspired off of 60s military vests, I think, from World War II era. I don't know 100%, to be honest, like the militaristic history behind it, but I know those were derived from like older, I guess Austrian military wear.
Yeah,
and,
they
like,
were
so
actually life
protective.
preservers.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
Yeah, they're
Oh, I didn't know that.
yeah, dude. It actually, the back end is supposed to be a hose with a clamp that attaches into the frontal of the vest. So when you breathe into it, you detach the tab, close the lid, and it's just
Oh,
a
and it's
safety net.
inflated. Oh,
Yeah.
Word.
So
That's
that's why it's
crazy.
flat at the chest, and a lot of soldiers wear it. And I think what's really interesting about that is you can't find shit like that, even online.
No, like buying the militaristic wear like that, even if you're looking for 60s and 50s like militaristic wear, it's gonna cost you a couple hundred still to buy it. Like you
It's
don't find
going
it
to be very expensive. Like,
Especially because it's on trend right now. Like a lot of military and stuff like that, people are really starting to get into that. And I think that it also stems a little bit from like the whole vintage trend that we're seeing right now.
100%.
People are really getting into old and like garments that are going to last and that have a story behind them.
yeah,
like core workwear militarism.
Somebody said minimal LA vest bag confirmed.
shout out whoever
He's going
said
for the
that they had to
lawsuit.
send back the Chrome Hearts denim so they wouldn't get bullied. That's hella funny.
And
So-
somebody
so
said
here's-
somebody said all three of us have the same Lil Peep haircut.
Yeah.
Oh my
My
god.
hair is hella
I
flat,
cut
but it's
this
there.
myself.
Mine's
RIP.
not
cut this
parted.
myself.
Mine's not parted right now.
Mine's accidentally parted. Pardon
I
me.
cut this all myself.
I
Damn,
haven't
we all
never
do
girlfriend
have the
cuts
same
my
haircut.
hair.
That's
I'm
funny.
like
What
3
was I
months
gonna
without a
say?
freaking haircut.
So
bro.
speaking of chrome and like minimal LA, first off, minimal LA.
Garbage.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Jokes. But Chrome Hearts denim, since filing the lawsuit, the denim has gone up a ton in price.
Really?
Like, have you guys
Seriously?
looked into the price lately?
Yes, bro.
It's close
That
to
makes
10G. It's close to 10G CAD now, and at like 7,000 to 8,000 US right now
USD. Yeah,
for
bro, it's
selling prices,
insane.
and you could have got them for 2,500, 3,000 just a few weeks ago.
They're
Yeah.
building hype now.
Ken literally just talked about that. That's so funny. I don't know if a lot of people here watch Kenny Jima.
Yeah,
Just
that's what I was
talked about
saying
that.
earlier this morning. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
It's crazy because like when you think about it, things like this really escalate the hype on things. Like when you see the dunks, the Rick Owens dunks, cease and
Yeah.
desist hit, $1,000.
Yep.
I wasn't.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I was.
100%. I didn't even think
I
about
wasn't
that.
around for that time, so I don't
Yeah, yeah,
understand
yeah.
how cheap they were really. But like when you really think about it, there's people with fucking 10 pairs.
Mhm.
Somebody
Yeah.
said
I've
all
been
my
on
old
standby.
airsoft gear coming into style finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Okay,
Stone
so
said that, by
hold
the way.
up. Let's swing it back. So
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
I said, we were talking about it before. You were talking about like how designers will be expressing themselves in this time. So like I said, major historic events and tragedies have sparked huge movements in fashion culture. So do you see like style as a whole? And I'm not saying like avant-garde style, just like style in general, changing directly as a result of the global pandemic. And like if you do, how so?
Hmm.
I think
I
as
feel like
far
this
as-
is this might sound kind of stupid, but I can see like people wearing face masks here like they do in like Asia for an extended period
yeah.
of time.
Just
For a
for style.
while.
And
after
there-
it.
Not
There's
even
actually-
style.
If
Like,
you
I
go
can
on
just see
Grailed right
people
now and look
wearing
up face mask, there's
They go
like
for
so
way
many
more.
custom face masks that are like
And I think the beauty
stupid
behind that is
V
the fact
print that
that
people are making.
yeah, I think the beauty behind that is that if you really look at it now, people they wear it for fear. Like
Mhm.
people beforehand were actually like we're actually like conscious, but everybody be like, "What the fuck are you doing wearing a mask? Like
Yeah.
a surgeon's
Yeah, yeah.
mask? Like,
No, I was
dog,
wearing a
calm
mask 2
down."
weeks before people, and then they were just like, "Yo, what the hell are you doing?" And then 2 weeks after, everybody's wearing masks, and I'm just like,
Yeah, like they're scared shitless. And I think that's one thing that definitely provokes fashion as well. Because I really love, like, I don't know if anybody else notices this, but like when you wear a mask, the profile of the face completely changes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, yeah,
What you notice is the eyes and the nose and just whatever is with the brow,
Mhm.
everything else. But when you take that away, it definitely adds a new element of accessory. And
right.
you
And
can really like
anonymity too.
definitely because dude, like you can't just picture like like if you really think about it, taking away
Yeah,
the mouth,
exactly.
stripping the like it's weird because it's well maybe not weird, but it's definitely beautiful in a sense of the
Yeah.
anti-fat
Right.
realm, because when you look at models, you usually it's not about their face. Me and my girlfriend like literally just talked about this not too long
Mhm.
ago. When you're watching a runway, you look at the clothes. The models are there
Yeah.
to be presented as skeleton, as the
Mhm.
hanger,
A husk.
moving just so you can see the flow. It's not about the presentation. A lot of places do, mainly just to please audiences. But when you look at maybe, I don't know, I don't want to say Essence because it's kind of rude, but like
No, I feel you.
there's some who aren't as on topic beautiful or like perfect, but they have that perfect body that really like encapsulates what you wear. And
Yeah.
like imagine the lengths that you could go by hiding the face, providing anonymity, and it's just
Yeah.
like with
Well,
Margiela, how he covered the faces.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Like
it's,
yeah, it's
he did that.
just
He did that
saying
out of
that.
the terms of affording the models rather than the structure. But
Yeah.
like,
but like the fact
imagine-
that he put like makeup over that or like
yeah,
still showed
Yeah.
that. Oh my
Mhm.
god.
But that
dude.
was
It's
actually
crazy.
because he didn't have enough money to hire actual models for the
Yeah.
runway show, though. Like
imagine
it wasn't
being down
because
for
like
that though.
yeah,
Like,
I
that's
do
crazy.
that.
It's just like, hey, I want to put you in a show. I don't
Your
know if
face
it'll be
isn't
good.
like good looking
I
enough
don't
to,
really like your
have it.
face, but like I like
Ah.
your body.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just
okay.
like.
Somebody said, "What do you think of Ken's Vujade, especially the helmet length ripoffs? I think his design now has
the
become
04
a bit
helmet
more
length body
original,
ripoffs.
especially with the carpenter pants." He said it's become a bit more original now, but that's the first thing that
Okay,
popped into my
so-
mind. Clearly,
I
as I
wouldn't
think
say
would
that
be for
it's
anybody,
original.
it's
I
not.
wouldn't say it's original. When you
Somebody
look at
also
the
said-
denim that he's making, like with the zips on the back, that's the dictionaries, bro.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
They sell
I
for like
really-
$850. Like
That's
holy
Yeah.
shit.
crazy.
Wait, the
So
Vujades too?
Yeah.
No.
Yes.
Yo, shout
You
out my
can go
twin.
on right
Fucking
now. Swear to God. They go for more than the actual helmet Lang ones.
it's
No.
crazy. Yeah.
Insane.
I think the last time I
Come
saw the
I
helmet
saw Middleman
lanes,
selling the 04 helmet Lang ones the other day, and then people were like, "Yo, these are Vujade knockoffs." These are
no,
Vujade
no
knockoffs."
way.
Oh my
How
god.
And
do they
then-
sell for more? No, okay.
I don't know.
It's
Somebody
just the
also
Ken-
said,
First off, I
Some-
really like Ken. Like Ken seems like
yeah, he's cool.
Ken seems so sick, but like seeing that was like his creative output, I don't know.
Kind of changes things.
Yeah,
it does change things because it's just like,
like get
He
your
wants
money up. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, damn near, but like, Jackson, you were saying something. I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, somebody said something about Kiko, how he also hides models' faces based on an old horror movie, which looks sick. I actually didn't even know that it was based on a horror movie, but that's cool.
I didn't know that.
I didn't
either.
either, but I do actually want to kind of spiral into Kiko because I don't know a lot about him, but I noticed his presentation is very.
Mhm.
It's interesting because I see his Instagram and it's a little disturbing when you really look at it because it's like the figures are really like fucking abstract, bro. Like it's
Yeah.
Did you
It's
see?
robust.
Did you see the rant he posted about how bad of a designer Virgil was on his main Instagram?
No,
I agree.
I did
Yeah,
not.
Who did?
So he posts rants about how bad he thinks other designers are and how they're putting like the fashion industry to a shame
Oh,
on
wow.
his mainstream Instagram, like the
Oh.
Kiko Kasadanov brand Instagram. He just
That's
straight up was just
amazing.
like, Virgil Abloh is disgracing the fashion community by drawing arrows on shirts and calling it high fashion.
I mean,
like,
Virgil
he's
literally
publicizing
copies
that.
everything.
He's publicizing
Okay,
that on
guys.
his main Instagram though. Like, I don't know how I feel about that because like
Guys, look in the chat. Somebody just said Mason Margiela instead of.
what?
Somebody said Mason Margiela, like as the name. Mason Margiela was the first back in the day.
Hey yo, that guy Mason's really out here making some crazy decisions.
No, they were actually.
I don't know who the fuck Mason is, but yeah, dude, he's a cool designer.
They were actually having like a.
Fuck.
They were
Why did his
talking
parents
about.
make his name spelled so weird, bro?
Also, somebody said nothing is original if you really think about it. Also, you try to make something that's 100% original. That's true.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's a difference
Just
between
those were a
taking
direct
inspirations
copy. Those are a
and
direct
copying.
copy.
Like he did a campaign for Off-White where they had the hat and you could like see through it. It's
Yeah, that's
completely
the-
copied from Stussy. Like it's different. Like you can take inspiration and you can copy, and he's just copying at this point. Like you even
And you
see
know
it.
where Stussy got that?
I have no idea
Nell
where they
Street.
got that. Really?
They
Yeah,
got that-
exactly. So everything's copied, it seems. Like it's just I
Yeah.
don't know.
Yeah.
But he's doing it and he's marketing it as if it's him. Like I don't know. It's just so weird to me. Like I don't respect that at all.
No, I don't either. I don't know.
Anyway.
That's weird. All right.
Do we have any more
See.
questions?
I think I'm good.
I
You guys have any more?
don't. Yeah, we had a pretty good lengthy
Yeah, this was good.
conversation.
Yeah, bro,
this
that's
is really
sick.
good, guys.
We have 26 watching. Oh, 25 now.
26.
Yeah, we still got a
yeah.
pretty good audience going. I'm on like the analytics page. We had 161 people like
Oh, wow.
individually.
Holy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate everybody that tuned in and gave us some
Mhm.
time, gave us your ears.
Yeah,
Really
for sure,
appreciate
guys.
it.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
bro. Thank you, everybody. Shit.
Thank you
I
guys
just like
for joining me.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
This
Yeah,
is
this
crazy.
was sick. This was so much fun,
Hopefully-
actually.
Hopefully this
And
is something
thank-
that we can continue to do, whether it's like on this platform or like whether it's elsewhere. But like, yeah, just please stay posted, guys. And like, we're gonna like try and continue to push out more content, like something like this. And if you guys have any recommended topics, just like message any of us, and then we can like work on
Mhm.
talking about stuff like that as well. Or if you want to
Please.
be in one
We
of
have
these as
so
well,
much time.
talk to people.
Yeah, for sure. This was awesome. I really appreciate you guys bringing me on the show. Like this is sick. This is awesome. This was so
Yeah,
much
Yo,
fun.
of
thank
course.
you
Thank you
guys.
guys.
Like literally, like this is so sick. Being able
Yeah.
to have a platform like this, I never would have actually thought to bring myself.
Thank Alex for like
Oh yeah,
starting this
yeah.
whole
Alex
idea.
for the
Seriously.
idea.
This is you guys though too. Like
Fucking
Jackson,
nice.
you were like nice enough to get this going in the first place, and then you guys were all like chill enough to just be out here and like we could have this conversation. So like
Mhm.
hopefully this is something that like we can continue to push forward with too, because I think like if we have like the positive audience feedback, which is like happening at the moment, and like people are saying that they like it, we can continue to do this, bring more guests on, talk more, right? So
Yeah,
thank
for
you guys
sure.
Sure.
for making this possible.
Yeah, this was awesome.
Yeah.
All our Instagrams are in the
Alright.
description, eh?
Yo,
Yes,
deadass.
they are.
Check that out.
For
All right.
sure.
All right.
See ya.
Thanks so
Thank
much,
you guys so much.
Catch you guys
Yeah, this
later.
was sick.
Love you. Peace.